Hello, Northstar here with another Singularity Let's Play. Um, Here I'm doing the minerals exploration. Um, Hope you folks are all well. If you follow my other series, check out I just did a new Northstar Talks Politics. It'll be up on the 12th of April. Um, Response to what I consider a deeply flawed video by Hakeem. He's a socialist, if you don't know who he is. I am also a socialist, but I'm trying to point out some of the blind spots. So some on the right may agree with the points I make. Self-criticism is important. Unfortunately, as much as many leftists say they're open to it, the moment you actually do it, I'm sure I'll come under attack if it gets any notice, which probably won't anyways because the channel is tiny. But my point is, even if you're not a leftist, you may find it interesting and perhaps it'll also open your eyes to the fact that leftists aren't just dumb. They're just subject to, flaws and biases like anyone else. Can say things that you might even agree with, but I'm sure I've lost some viewers just because I was a leftist, even though I'm talking about critiquing another one, but well, you can't win them all. Number one, number two. Rabid anti-communism is a scourge, and I'm not a communist, by the way, but to some people, anyone on the left is a communist. I'm a Marxist, but not a communist. That does remind me of a video, a movie I watched. Triangle of Sadness, where the captain of the ship, I'm not a communist, I'm a Marxist. Yeah, there's a certain stereotype, and they poke fun at people who unfortunately have some similarities to me. Of course, I'm not dumb enough to think, oh, I'm a bad socialist if I have too much money. That's not any decently intelligent leftist understand. It's a bunch of bullshit. No one's critiquing you for doing well under capitalism. The point is whether you're on the side of history to change it, to eliminate it or not. In fact, if you're really dedicated to left causes, you would try and make as much money as you can and try and divert some of it to like supporting leftist organizations. Not necessarily all, because that's too much to expect from anyone, but make some political contributions in that way if you're a leftist. Anyways, that's a good movie, by the way. Triangle of Sadness. It was like a foreign film festival thing that's on Hulu now, and won awards. It starts off with a story about a male model and his influencer model girlfriend. Not really a model, like an Instagram air quote model, whereas he like model clothing. It's a field where men are paid a third of what women are, which is very rare. Usually, the relationship is the other way around, but in modeling, I tried to explain this to a family member, and she was like, "Ooh, that's because men buy pictures." And it's like, no, these models don't make their money off pictures. They make it off of walking runways selling clothes. That's a bullshit explanation, but this individual never wants to see anything wrong with the current system. A rabid defender of the status quo of the worst sort. Anyways, then it proceeds to this luxury yacht cruise, which ends up being more of a critique after looking at gender roles in the first section of the movie to a critique of surprisingly class relationships, and it's basically a Marxist critique, which really surprised me. I'm like, this filmmaker is undoubtedly a Marxist. I wonder if he openly identifies as such. Any Marxist who watches would immediately recognize this as a Marxist critique of class relationships. And then the third part of the film is more of a looking at power dynamics. I don't know what to call it. There's elements of the first two pieces in it, gender roles and Marxism, and bring them in. When the yacht crashes and they end up on a deserted island. By the way, the model in the first part is on the yacht, and so there's a continuity of storyline, but it's a good film. I recommend it. I was completely surprised because I thought it was gonna be some stupid mindless film based on like the description about like rom-com on a desert island or something, and it turned out to be something entirely different, but surprisingly good. So, Triangle of Sadness, you can find it on Hulu and other platforms, I'm sure. Um, but yeah, I did a Northstar Talks Politics video to go back to my own content for a second, and a been uploading Northstar Plays pop-up dungeon videos, a whole bunch of those. There's a huge buffer, so they just come out every 2 to 3 days consistently all the way into June, July almost now. The buffer is shrinking a little bit, but it's still ridiculously long, so we can expect to see those videos. Many, many, many more of them. I must have over 100 videos of that game because it's just a very easy game for me to sit down and play. With my long COVID, sometimes I'm having a rough day and can't think through a more complicated game. It's a tactical RPG. Not entirely dissimilar to Wildermyth, actually, but the story and character decisions made in Wildermyth have lasting consequences in a way that they don't in Pop-Up Dungeon, where with most they'll fit to a single campaign. Each campaign is kind of self-packaged. I thought I would like something more continuity, but the lack of continuity can be a blessing with how I stress over making bad choices if they have lasting consequences. It's too much like real life and everything is lasting. Even things you don't think were screw-ups or that shouldn't have been, but just bad luck or rules you know about. Like, I got screwed for working for a university for pay instead of maybe trying to find some private for-profit employment, having no idea that university pay doesn't count, doesn't contribute to payroll tax, doesn't count towards disability, and having no idea it would eventually become disabled. So I got screwed up at SSDI by a very narrow margin just because some of the work I did was for when I was a student, like TAing, when I could have worked outside the university instead if I had known that they were screwing me like that. And I, at other times, like I also worked as a usher ticket collector at one point, which is maybe the TAing and paid well enough I was still in them, but I could have definitely done that outside the university and earned some more credits there. Or maybe not that specific job, but a job. Point is just, a low-paid job to earn a little extra money. It's just ridiculous. They, punch the welfare system full of holes you don't even realize are there because I'm not looking at SSDI or Social Security requirements. I was in my 20s. You kidding me? Who is at that age? It's designed to punish you for rules you didn't even know were there when you actually need, the help of the system. The whole thing is a freaking vile scam. But that's neoliberalism for you. Make the whole system work against you so that you'll want to cut the government. If they make Social Security not work for people, they figure that people want to get rid of it instead of fix it. I should say that the people with the power, ultimately the billionaires. But yeah, check out my pop-up dungeon videos. There's something I can do for a while with my long COVID. And partly because I don't, as a perfectionist, kick myself over lasting consequences that aren't there, and partly because it's just a simple game. I'll also be doing Wildermyth videos and trying to finish the current campaign so I can do a multiplayer one soonish. If a couple people lined up I could do those with. One and the same guy do Hearts Iron videos, so that would interfere with that. But then there's an entirely separate guy I could do them with, so that would not interfere. Though I don't know if he's reliable, or if I'll start a, series and then he'll do it for 2 weeks and then just never be accessible, because some people are like that. At least the guy I do the Hearts Iron stuff with, I know I can count on most weekends him being available. For at least a day. Sometimes too often just one day on a weekend, but so I sprint a bunch of videos and then I get post-exertion malaise the next day because I overexert myself quite often, but to get as much video time as I could in that one day. But post-exertion wise, this thing you get long COVID when you push yourself too hard in a day, and then the next day you're like, you can't get out of bed. Literally, sometimes. It's like I hit the mountain once early in my disease, not knowing my limits, and I couldn't get out of bed for like 2 weeks. I could barely get out of bed, and for the next 2 months I mean, you work yourself too hard and maybe your muscles are sore. The next day, no, this is not like that. I literally couldn't get out of bed for 2 weeks, and for 2 months, everything hurt. Everything. It was brutal. Still might have been worth it. I love climbing mountains so much. I used to do it all the time. It was one of my old, loves. I thought, I'm having a real good day. I'll try this. I paid a steep price for that. But if you're willing to pay the price, I don't know. Maybe it's a bad idea because it had done permanent damage to my health, for all I know. But that's long COVID for you. I suppose it's also important to do things to make you happy. Anyways, I got some pictures I use in my dating profiles, though. Some people might then ask, when did you take that? And due to time, I'm like, isn't that when you're on COVID? And I have to explain. Yes, it is. And I paid early on, and I paid in disease, I paid a very, very severe price for doing this. But I love hiking mountains. And I can hike hills, like much, shorter hills without more than a couple hours of exhaustion. It's like most people would feel after like running a whole really long distance that day. They're like tired the rest of the day, maybe the next day. I get that just from like hiking a normal hill, but it's nothing more lasting than that. So I can still do hiking, just sometimes only easy hikes though, on like gentle hills. Investing in minerals here, because minerals get more points to add, allow you to get more minerals. And right now the next upgrade is sand, which is based on mineral score, so there's no reason to do igneous rock for a while. Let's see, I'm probably going to do another Hearts Iron 4 video, maybe today, soon-ish. I hope I can manage one. Trying to push through. I did eventually. I bought the new DLC on sale. Still expensive, but I did it partly to reward myself to hold out at first as a reward, and then to give myself the reward for doing a bunch of things I need to take care of. Because long COVID, it's such low energy. Like stuff about following up about trying to get out of the country because I'm afraid the United States might be going fascist, and so I'm trying to use some connections. I have some personal connections to try and find if maybe I could like find a host family while I come with a visa where I first get settled. If I can go to a European country, I'd still need to like connect with some refugee or government program. I need some financial help from the government initially if my YouTube channel doesn't support me at that point, because I can't rely on a host family to support me, and my savings will last so long. But with what's going on in the country, I'd be dumb to not. I mean, there's experts on fascism leaving and stuff. Tried to explain the connections I have. They're a little more conservative, and they know people are starting to think the same way, but they still think it's an overreaction. Like, no, there's professors who've studied fascism their whole life who leave the country saying they want their children to grow up in a free country. This is, if you don't believe me, believe the experts. This is a bad situation. But that's how it is. I mean, when the Nazis were taking power, there were people who gaslit people who said, this is going to be bad. I need to get out of the country. They're like, oh, you're fine, you're reacting. There were people who said that back then, and there are people who say that now. This is just human nature. Assume nothing will ever change. But yeah, so I got the new Hearts Iron 4 DLC, which means I can update eventually. I mean, I could have done it without, but I don't like necessarily doing the updates without the DLC, because there's always like content they try and lure you to get by having things early half there, and I don't know if I'm gonna go through so eventually once I finish my current single player campaign, the multiplayer either wraps up or the other guy just loses interest or something. I doubt it, because he's the guy who's reliable. He's been doing it for a long time. These videos to me, so hopefully we can finish the campaign, but maybe we'll rush to like beating the Nazis and not take our time. Or, well, no, there are no Nazis in that version because the Germans got rid of Hitler in that whole history. There aren't any big baddies in that campaign. That's one of the weird things. There's like 4 major communist powers, and they're gonna end up fighting each other. The British, the Soviets, the Germans, and the Japanese all went communist. So there's going to be a World War II, but it's going to be between like major communist blocs instead of. It's a weird alt history that could never have happened, but it's amusing and fun, and so we'll probably do that. Maybe rush through to victory, and then maybe I'll try and update and try even do a new multiplayer campaign with different countries, and then new DLC with him if he wants to do another one of that game, and a new single player. Then I don't have to like swap back and forth between the new version and the old version every time I want to do a multiplayer session. Maybe I just will after I finish the single player campaign, because I don't do the multiplayer that often. Maybe I'll slightly hurt the recording frequency, but it means I'll do more of my Age of Wonders multiplayer campaign instead. Soon a Wilder Myth one with that guy, maybe even a Starbound if I can convince him, though he seems really not interested in that. There is the guy I did the Starbound thing with before, if I could ever just get a hold of him on Steam. By the way, if you play some of the same Steam games I do Let's Plays of, once I have multiplayer like Wilder Myth, Starbound, Hearts Iron, you can consider like commenting on these videos asking if I want to be like friends on Steam, and you can start a conversation there, see if we want to do something. If I friend you on Steam, we're definitely going to talk some before I'm going to give someone a platform on my channel. Make sure they're not like a fascist who's going to start spouting neo-Nazi stuff on stream or something. I mean, make sure someone I feel safe, like, having conversations with. There's creepy, weird people out there, although most people are not, but it's still good to do at least a very precursory things aren't okay to talk about in the stream, that kind of thing. Someone first, if I do multiplayer with someone, I prefer to stream it. I could do off-camera stuff too, but I have limited time and energy, and I really need to produce content for this channel. But yeah, what else? Check out my Interstellar Transport Company Let's Plays if you haven't. They're good. It's like a space tycoon transport game. I mean, I think by the end of the second video, people probably got the sense I'd already kind of won the game and I was just swinging money, but then I did this. Not really. That game can get deceptive like that. I only had enough money for like 20-something more ships, and then I was adding new lines out to the moons of Jupiter, and very quickly ate through my entire reserves. And somehow then something happened to my bottom line. I think some of my existing routes, the older ones, became less profitable or starting to make a loss in some way. Struggling to figure out what happened and get that company more solidly in the black. So it'll be interesting for a while. And eventually I'll be moving to interstellar stuff. Right now it's all just the moons of like Neptune and Uranus and Jupiter and Saturn. It's all in the solar system, but I already have the tech for interstellar stuff, just not the money and the infrastructure built up quite yet. My infrastructure, dilithium mines and refineries and routes to carry them and stuff. There's a little bit of dilithium fuel already built up. That's the fuel in my game, homage to Star Trek. Let's see. Pop-up dungeon, Wilder Myth. It's on for Interstellar Transport Company. For those of you who watch my Rise of Nations Let's Play, I might return to that soon enough. I don't know. Stuff happened in real life, got me distracted from that. I started other stuff. For a while, I just lost my appetite for that game. But I always come back to stuff eventually. Even if it's years later, but hopefully it won't be that long. I'm thinking Starting to feel the itch to maybe recontinue that soon. I do want to get to the Cold War campaign that eventually. Kind of might be a segue to one of my Heart's Iron campaigns if I actually follow one through to like, the normal end game time. And then kind of fits with doing a Cold War thing next. So, even it's an entirely different game. I'll be probably revisiting Potion Craft eventually too. That's a game where I kind of have one entirely, and there's one of the problems with that game is there's nothing to do after a certain point in the game. Like, you get all this money, and it's like you can't train an apprentice, you can't buy more property. Like, that game really needs more late game and just really expensive content you can spend gold on when you have tons and tons of it. At some point I'll be doing a Stars Let's Play, though. I may wait for the 4.0 thing to be out, and I've been, the 4.0 update that's coming and have been out for a while, and bug fixes, so that might be a while down the line, or maybe I'll pick up my current old save. A couple times I've loaded and looked at it, and even done a tiny bit, but streams can be chaotic and distracting, trying to talk to the audience and also game, and I'm not really comfortable with where I am in that current state with streaming yet, especially because there's one where I was cheating rampantly with save scumming. I'm definitely not doing that in the stream. I don't always cheat in Stars, but in that particular save I did, the one they have that's most recent. Obviously I would do it in single player if I'm cheating, and it's not something I always do, as I said, but in that particular one I did, I wanted to get it to where I could just stop doing it, make sure things are economically stable enough my empire doesn't collapse. Suddenly what I was doing is safe scumming the slots with the Caravannery Cavassary, whatever, the free money basically, which is a pretty big cheat, obviously. Plus some really super micro stuff that could be considered borderline exploit, but it's technically not. But the safe scumming definitely is, and stuff with not reacting to events right away, which requires a memorization what the events are and not ever opening them until, yeah. It's not like Hearts Iron where there's a minimize button on events, so you have to just not open it in Stars. There really should be a minimizer. Maybe I missed the button. It might be one, in which case what I'm doing is a little more legit. Delaying reacting events, because sometimes they can be a little more valuable to react to later. Other games. I haven't touched Vampire in a while, because there wasn't really that many viewers for it. I mean, there weren't really that many viewers for it. And I guess I kind of lost interest in doing something that nobody was watching, but I've got more subscribers now, so maybe I'll try that again and see if I can actually get viewers again. Twice as many subscribers doesn't necessarily mean just twice as many viewers, since if a video gets views, YouTube will recommend it to more people, and it'll get more views. And so on, you get the idea. Just gonna divest a little in Sedimentary Rock and Igneous, because some of these upgrades, but it'll lead to more upgrades to minerals eventually. Maybe at some point I don't know how I feel about this, doing a Lord of the Rings Online Let's Play, because I play that game, but then people know my character names, and it's MMO, and I don't know the rules or how people feel if they happen to come across me. I'd probably tell them when I'm in a party with, hey, I'm streaming this, is okay if I stream it, or or pause it, tell them I'm streaming, ask if it's okay if I unpause. I don't know what the norms are in streaming MMOs. I should probably look that up before I try. Alright, well that's enough of this. I should get to other stuff. I wish you folks all the best. Take care of each other. Be kind to yourselves. May always find a guiding star with you. Until next time.
This is Northstar. Adieu and best luck.